Welcome to part 2. All right, here we go. Sweet. So that felt totally unnecessary. All right, so where were we? You guys do not care about this.
We are starting our main menu. Main menu.
Yeah, here we go. Oh, whoops. Cool. This is where we were going to start our main menu. So we want to go into our main menu. But now I want to say welcome and then the person's name to the main menu. This obviously is not going to work because I'm going to make a person's name. Wait a second. Where does this come from? Will this work right now? Lou.
I'm going to say no.
Why?
Because you don't have the person's name like defined.
Oh, okay. Let's refactor it then. So, what the schnitzel? There we go. What if I were to refactor this to say, there we go. What if I were to refactor this to say user.username? Would that work now?
Yes,
Why?
because you have username defined, or like it can find it basically inside of there.
Yeah, so here's the problem. When you're inside of a class, and in general in Ruby, this is just kind of the way it works. This cannot see what's going on inside of this function. So I have username defined. I have user defined here. It is not defined here. Does anybody have a way that I could make it defined in here? Anybody have any ideas on what I might utilize?
Would it be user?
Kat definitely got an idea.
I like a class attribute.
Yes, close. I want a better name for what you want.
Yeah.
What?
I'm like, that's not the right name.
Not the right name. You're close. So you were close.
Class variable?
Not even a class variable. Still one. We could do one better. But that was better. That was a step in the right direction.
Instance variable?
Instance variable, exactly. So when we have an instance variable, it's available to all of our instance methods. So for example, if instead of calling this here a user, we can call it an @user, which now changes the scoping of this variable to be an instance variable. Therefore, oh, whoops. If I'm down here, now @user should work just fine and dandy. Let's see if I'm right. So we're going to go ahead and save. Oh, shit balls. Save that. Cool. And we're going to go down here and we're going to try running this in. So, whoops, if I can actually get this to work. So I'm going to go ahead and type in. This decides to work. I'm going to go ahead and type in Ruby Runner. And let's see. Hello, what is your username? JJ Higgs. What is your password? Doomslayer. Uh-oh. Undefined local user. Oh, where did I say user? Did I save it? Oh, it's because here. Hang on a second. I gotta get better at my shortcuts here. It's because here we just forgot an @ sign. That's why that's saying that. But let's look at this message if we can actually look at it and try and read it. Oh man, I really should have fixed my terminal. It's saying undefined. I only know that this is saying undefined local variable because I've seen this message 1,000 times. It's saying undefined local variable or method. And I think somewhere it's saying user, and then here it's saying @user. Did you mean @user? So what it was saying was that somewhere I tried to type in user and I accidentally typed in @user. So that's what we got to do to fix that. Cool. So let's go ahead right there. Let's go down, run this again. Whoops. Whatever. Ruby runner. Cool. Bam. JJ Higgs. Bam. Now it's saying, did you mean at user? It's on Ruby line 33, which should be here. So again, I just fucked up at user. This sure would be a lot easier if I could read my shit, which I can't, but okay, it happens. Gonna run this again, try it again one more time. Enter, username, JJ Higgs. What is my password? Slayer. And now it's saying some, what the flipping schnitzel? Now it's on Ruby line 3.
I think it's the user.password_string.
Yeah, I'm fixing it pretty much alongside him. That's what it was.
Where do you see that?
Down below, your ifs. Oh, you missed it.
Yep, user.password string.
Nice catch, cat.
That's exactly what it is.
Catching cat.
Okay, let's try this one more time and see if I don't look silly. Dave. Congratulations! We logged in. Now let's see if it takes us to the main menu. Are we ready? Big moment. Uh-oh, it didn't do anything. Oh, because we never called on main menu. That's why. There we go. Main menu. And guess what? Now I don't have to pass anything into this because I have it accessed as an instance variable. So all that shit is there, which is fucking nice, right? So let's save that, go down here, run this again, bam. This is it. This is the time I can feel it. Congratulations, we logged in, and welcome to the main menu. We've officially finished a successful login as a user. Hooray, everybody, pat yourself on the back. I would tell you to pat me on the back, but we're over Zoom, so it's not possible. Cool. So now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to ask y'all, what would be can anybody think of a good way for me to rip this code out? Let me ask you this. From the lines from here to here, what of these lines, what variables are there? What variables do we have here? From that line to that line, from 9 to 42.
We have two variables.
2 variables. Which ones?
Username and @user.
Yeah, actually we have 3. So we have @user, we have password, and we have username. Now I'm going to show you all the fancy way of doing this. Let's say I want to validate a user. Well, it's a common way of doing this is to actually put that validation on a user model. So now let's go to our library and let's go to the user model. And we're going to make a, let's make a file. Let's make a validate. We actually really want 2 functions. We probably want a function that's like, does user exist? Check if exists, right? Oh, that's weird. Oh, because I forgot a def. Oh, man. And then we're probably going to want another function, which is something like, I don't know, we want to check, see if a user exists. We also want to, I don't know, validate password. Cool. So now let's start thinking about how do we get this to actually connect? So first of all, how do I pass data from one class to a whole nother class? What's the best way for me to do that? You already have any ideas? If I want to get a password from my CLI class over here, there's totally a way we can do it. And y'all actually did it in your code challenge. Maybe we have a little bit of an idea here.
You want to like put some parameters into your method, right?
Function parameters, beautiful. So what we're gonna do, whoops, what did I just do? We're gonna put some parameters here. What parameters do we think we need to check to see if a user exists?
Username.
A username, and that should probably be it, right? Cool. And what parameters do we think we would need for password validation?
Password.string. Wait, password string? Is that it?
We would need a string of password. What? Yeah, it's
Oh,
password
password.
underscore string. We could do password string, or we could just do password. It doesn't matter here, but let's just do password string so it's less confusing. And then what do I need for? What else do I need to validate a password? Actually, we probably don't need anything else there.
As long
Now,
as
here's my question. If I want to check to see if a user exists, what kind of method would that be? An instance method or a class method, and why?
it's a class method because you're checking against all users.
Beautiful. So exactly, we're checking against all users. So we want to make sure that we make this a class method. Okay. Now, all we're going to do is we're going to rip out that logic from before. We're going to do the find by. So if I'm on a class method, how do I reference this class?
Self.
Self. So I'm going to do self dot. What am I going to do to check see if a username exists?
All.
Let's do self dot. Yeah, you could do all dot filter, but we actually have a special method that it gives us, which is find by. So I'm going to do find by, and then we want to find by username, and then we want to do we want to check to see if we find it, and we want to pass in the username that we get from our argument up here. Make sense? Cool beans.
Can you repeat that one more time?
All right, so we want to pass in this argument of username. Then we want to find, we're going to look through all of the users, and we're looking for one whose username equals the username that we plug in here. Make sense? Cool. Let's test that much first. See if we can refactor our code and just test that. So I'm going to go ahead, write it, and I am going to buffer. We're going back. Bam. So cool. So I'm going here, and we have, where's the part where I'm checking to see if a user exists? So maybe instead of, let's go back to our other function real quick. So what does this return? This is kind of a silly method to make actually, because it really just does exactly what find by does, which we could call from the other class. But anyways, I digress. Let's just do it for the sake of like practice. The point is that, because really basically all we did was we made a wrapper. This thing does exactly what this thing on the inside does. It's not really a good use of a function, but I kind of wanted to give you all an idea of the architecture of how we would write these things. So in reality, like I kind of want y'all to contextualize like, oh, whoops. Hang on. Oh shit, I'm definitely in the wrong terminal. Okay. So if I'm in here, so let's think about why that's maybe extraneous. Here I'm calling user.findby on username equals username. The function that we just made would be like user.check username on username. It really doesn't save any code. It really doesn't make anything more elegant. We basically rewrote the findby class. I just kind of wanted to illustrate that this find by class is stuff that you know, you already kind of understand it. It's a class method that's there, and you're just invoking that class method here because it makes sense. We're not going to redo that. What we could do is we can make a validate thing. We can make a validate function. So I'm gonna do that a little bit more. Whoops. Oh god darn, I suck. Okay.
Would you put the conditional put statements over in the check if exists? Because
Well,
that's
that's what I'm saying is like if you're checking to see if it exists, you return true. If it's false, you return false. The truth is that it's really not useful to us right now. I think
Gotcha.
maybe that might have been like just a bad way to go around. But validate password will still probably be good because guess what? We could maybe save some logic on the equals sign. I mean, truth is that I might, if it were me, I might leave this in there in the other thing, but it's probably good to start thinking about how these things are tying together because the truth is that this is something that will work if we do it here. So how do we think this will work? How do we think validate password? First of all, will validate password be called on a user or will it be called on the user class? So is it a class method or is it an instance method?
It's an instance method.
Why do you say that? Defend yourself.
Because you're checking the password of an instance of a user. You're not checking.
Exactly, right? Like the user class does not have a password. A user has a password. Exactly. So I'm just gonna do the logic right here. We're basically saying, how do you think I would reference the password of this user, the actual password from the database?
Self.password underscore string.
Self.password string. Cool. Okay. And then what am I going to do with this? Any ideas?
compare it to the password string parameter.
Compare it to the password string parameter. And am I done here?
No, because that's just, oh, well, I mean, that's going to return true. It depends on if you want to go further with it from right there.
Nope, I think you're exactly right. If I want to do this, I probably should just return true or false. And a strapping young lad recently informed me that it's Ruby syntax to actually, if you are in a if you are in a function that returns either like a true or a false or something like that, if it returns a Boolean, you put a question mark at the end of it just to indicate what that function does. It's just convention, no nothing, no thing really about it. But we're actually going to use, yeah, we'll leave it like it was. Whoops. We're still going to validate password right now. So I'm going to.
Does the triple equal sign still work?
Oh, shit. That's JavaScript. Call me out, bro. No, I'm playing. Cool. So now how can I refactor this? Oh, this is not what I wanted. How do I do this? Oh, shit. I didn't know I could do that. Ah.
Watching you figure out Vim makes me want to, like, whenever I download Vim, just rewatch these classes and be like, oh, see, look, if I get discouraged, look how much fun John had.
I will say, like 2 weeks ago, I was hating Vim. And this week it's like been like exciting. It's just like exciting thing. Oh, I figured that out. All these question marks. This has been a nightmare to figure out. I don't know how to get rid of those. But it's just a silly, stupid visual thing, so I don't really care that much. Anyways, cool. Side tangent. So now let's go back to we actually don't want to go to our user class. We want to go somewhere else. I'm going to save this, though, first. So we want to go to our CLI. We're here. Now let's talk about maybe how we could use this. How would I call on that validates method here?
You would call @user.validate password.
Yeah, if @user.validate password, and then it should kind of do. What do I have to plug anything into that? I don't.
No, we do, because we have an argument.
Yep, we have to.
So we need to put in the password. Password : password string.
It should come from right here, so we should be okay.
Oh, yeah, totally. That's what I meant.
Right? So now we're saying if the password validates, congratulations, you logged in. Otherwise put, fuck, you forgot your password. And now we should have done a nice clean refactor where we're now taking advantage of object-oriented programming a little bit. And also part of the reason why I did that is because you might have something that's more complex. Maybe, for example, you want to generate a random fortune. If I want to generate a random fortune, maybe I should store that in a particular class that's associated with that fortune. There's just an example. Maybe you're making a pizza place and you want to make a function that determines change for the transaction, right? Maybe that would be a good thing to, maybe a transaction is its own class and you could define how to calculate that change on it. I want y'all to start thinking about, like, if I'm going to make a useful function, which object should that go on? And that's kind of like one of the trickier parts about where we're at right now with object-oriented programming. And I guarantee you almost all of you are going to fuck it up and it's totally fine. I did on my CLI project and it's okay. But just so you maybe start putting some thought into it, it's a good thing to start thinking about. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and give this a save. Bam. And we just want to check to make sure everything runs. Like, does everything work? Cool. Gotta go down and run that again. Yes. Username, JJ Higgs, password, Doomslayer, bam. Oh, validate password. I didn't like that because I forgot a question mark. 18 up. Bam. Bam. Give this a save. By the way, you see how difficult it would be to debug all those things at once? It's so nice when there's only like one line of code that's actually fucked up. So I don't have to worry about fixing 20 lines of code at the same time. I want y'all to really take note of that. This whole concept that we're going to shove down your throats is called thin vertical slices. Always work in as thin amounts of code as possible before you test things and make sure things are working. For now, that's a great understanding of thin vertical slices, but later on, we're going to even get a little further on what a thin vertical slice means, but for now, that's totally fine. Cool. So we're going to actually just run this again. I'm just going to...
What does that question mark and validate password mean?
That's literally just how we wrote it. We just wrote it with a question mark, so we got
cool.
Question mark. Yep. Bam. What is my password? Congratulations, you logged in. Great. We refactored our code. It looks good. Now we know, let's say my user does something in the future, like, oh, I don't know, maybe I'm just using your fortune example. Let's say my user were to, I don't know, get their fortune told, right? I probably need to keep track of who that user is so that way I can seed it into my database, right? So I need to keep track of who that user is so that way I can figure out, you know, like how I'm going to write that query to the back end. For now, I think that y'all have had a lot of information thrown at you with this lesson. So just start working on your app. Just go see what you can get done. If you want to try and implement a login, that's a great place to start. But I think also a good place to start would be like, draw out your fucking like, whatever we just did with the fortune teller user, do that. Absolutely do that. If you haven't done that by now, that should be like one of the first things you do whenever you're creating any kind of backend. Do something like that. How does your data work? So cool. And for now, I am going to go ahead and call like this lesson, but if anybody has questions, I'm totally open. So. Questions? We never did anything with TTY prompt. Do y'all want to do something with TTY prompt? Because I could think of something really easy to do.
Yes, I love easy TTYL prompt.
Bundle add TTY prompt. So now we have TTY prompt added. I never remember how to look up TTY prompt, so I just look it up every single time. Cool. We're gonna go here. I always just forget how to import it is the main thing. This is the part right here. This right here. This, right? We actually don't need the require because that's taken care of by the bundler, but we definitely need this. Where do we think this might go? This actually brought up something great that I didn't really think about. Where do we think that this might go in our code? If I need to instantiate like a prompt, where might that go? So I don't have to keep making a new prompt and making a new prompt and making a new prompt. How would I do that in my CLI?
Make a helper function.
Helper function? I could do a helper function. So that's actually not a bad idea. I've never done it that way. So we could do something like this. I think is what you're saying. Def prompt and then end, and then instead of actually putting in then instead of actually doing this prompt equals, we could actually just return tty prompt.new. That is totally a valid way of doing this. That actually works great. I've never done it that way, but that works fine. The other way you could do it is put it in your initialize method. So you could also do something like this. We haven't even done an initialize method yet. But another way we could do that is by going up here and going def initialize. And we don't really have anything that we need to initialize. So in here, I'm going to put in at prompt equals, and I lost it from my clipboard, so I got to copy it. TTY. Well, I'm just going to try and commit it to memory. Prompt.new. Is that right? So now, I'm forgetting a cool. And now this should work as well. And let's test that. Let's see if I'm dumb. So now maybe instead of doing, let's see, password, I know that there's one for a secret information, prompt.mask. Cool, so I'm just gonna replace this with prompt.mask. And this also cleans it up because, whoops. And actually I have to do at prompt.mask. And now the question goes in here. So actually this, I think personally looks nicer because now, instead of it being 2 lines of code, I just put it right in here. Oh, whoops. And now let's see what this did. I'm gonna write it. We're gonna go down. Stop sucking. Let's see. Ruby runner. Bam, enter. JJ Higgs. What is my password? Watch, I'm gonna type stuff. Ooh, I get circles. Oh, fuck, you forgot your password. I did type a lot of circles. Sam, I think I got close to 70,000 characters there. That was just a joke. Yeah.
But does it have a special character in it? Because then it wouldn't register.
Yeah, let's make a wait, why don't we make a main menu now? This would be a good idea. So, because maybe if you're curious how to structure your app. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to make the main menu. I think y'all could figure out the main menu. If you're really struggling, great opportunity to use Denver Tech questions. I think y'all are prepared to really just like start your apps. Like, I really want y'all to start on your apps. And just a side note to everybody, like this project is really more about cooperation with your partner than making a cool ass app. My app sucked, but I learned a lot out of it because I spent a lot of time explaining things to the person who I was working with and also vice versa. Like that collaboration that conversation is where the most learning happens, especially because not only right now are you supposed to be learning technical things, but one of the harder things to teach and the harder things to learn is actually like, how does this person behave well at a company? And that's like, this is what you're training yourself on. And that might feel stupid to you. Like you might just feel like, I just want to learn technical stuff and make a cool fucking project. But I promise you that the non-technical stuff is just as important. That looks way better without the hat on. It makes more sense with the bald head. I just want to say, I don't know if anybody else agrees, but it feels more right to me. All right, cool. That's all I got for the day. Any questions? Any like specific questions on maybe something you're confused about, or? I'm gonna try and figure out how to turn off Zoom. It's gonna be an hour before I could do that.
I do have a specific question, but I know that you were saying like we've got a lot of information thrown at us today, but we are wanting to like save attributes to a person's username, like if they wanted to make favorites.